good, y'all, man? We back with another video, man. How y'all doing? Feeling great today? Today we got the Bermuda Triangle has returned a ship that disappeared 90 years ago. You know what I'm saying? This can probably give us some insight on how the Bermuda Triangle get around. You know what I'm saying? How does a plane go in there and just disappear? How does a boat go in there and disappear? You know what I'm saying? We finna see how this goes. And yeah, man, see what they say.
We'll hear the story of a ship that was perfectly intact, but with its crew entirely missing, and an entire squadron of planes that vanished without a trace. But first, could the strange forces in the Bermuda Triangle drive someone to madness? Number 10. Madmen. The Bermuda Triangle became famous for the number of unexplained disappearances that happen within its boundaries. However, could this mysterious area of the sea also make men go completely insane? Perhaps that's what happened on the Tynemouth Electron in 1969. Businessman Donald Crowhurst set sail from London on October 31st, 1968, in a triple-hulled boat design featuring his own safety innovations and grand intentions to win the Sunday Times Golden Globe race, an event that requires each contestant to sail solo around the world. Crowhurst, who was a relatively inexperienced sailor, obtained the backing of a demanding investor and hired an aggressive publicist. With his fortune and pride riding on a successful voyage, Crowhurst got off to a slow start and his boat was plagued with problems, even considering heading back. However, he instead reported incredible times and progress to his publicist while floating around in the Atlantic. When Crowhurst began his journey home, he found out his closest competitor had sunk. Fearing that the truth about his deceptions would be discovered, Crowhurst apparently jumped overboard with his fraudulent logbook and drowned himself. The Electron was found abandoned in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle in July 1969, with the last entry of his accurate logbook dated June 29th. Number 9. Irving Rivers.
Man just jumped in the water, just killed it. There ain't no way,
vanish
man.
inside the Bermuda Triangle. Airplanes do as well. On November 3rd, 1978, Irving Rivers left St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands in a Piper Navajo he was piloting for Eastern Caribbean Airways. The experienced pilot was making a solo flight to position the plane in St. Thomas to pick up passengers. Visibility was good and temperatures were warm. During the flight, the control tower operator radioed a flight suggestion to avoid a small shower, and Rivers radioed his acknowledgement and made the adjustment. As he neared the airport in St. Thomas, the plane was cleared for landing, and the controller saw the plane's red and green lights blinking as it made the approach. Soon after another plane made a planned departure, the controller found he could no longer see the plane's lights. It had disappeared from the radar.
Kevin and I need to pick this up on Monday from LAX.
We're like, what?
An emergency search effort was launched, but nothing was ever found, even though the flight was only 1 mile from landing. Number 8. USS Cyclops. The USS Cyclops was nearly 550 feet long, with a crew of 306 people and around 11,000 tons of manganese on board. It was the biggest ship in the US Navy's arsenal at the time, so when it vanished without a trace, no one could really give an explanation as to how and why. She had been sailing successfully since 1910, traveling between the Baltic Sea, the Caribbean, and Mexico, and assisting with moving coal around the world and helping refugees. But in 1917, when America entered World War I, Cyclops became a key naval asset, transporting troops and coal to fuel other ships all over the world. In March 1918, its mission was to transport manganese ore from Brazil to Baltimore, stopping off first at Bermuda to resupply. It never reached its final destination. No trace of the lost ship was ever found, which is strange because when ships sink, something buoyant will definitely be left on the ocean or else washed up on shores. The last message that the crew of the USS Cyclops was weather fair, all well, and whatever happened to it, the crew never even sent an SOS. Number 7. The disappearance of Thomas Lynch
That jump
Jr.
crazy. Then all them people
Thomas
disappear with that
Lynch
jump
Jr.
too,
played a
man.
huge part in US history, being one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. But not long after, he was again slotted into the history books as he and his wife suddenly vanished in the Bermuda Triangle, as always without a trace. Lynch Jr. was the son of a member of the Continental Congress, Thomas
I don't think we ever gonna
Against
get
his
to the
father's
bottom of
will,
how
he
the
joined
Bermuda
the
Triangle
military. It was during this time that he contracted bilious fever, and
It
although
might
he
be a
recovered, he
pyramid
was
under
pretty much sickly for the rest of his life. After his father suffered a stroke and was paralyzed, the young Lynch was soon elected to Congress. After his father's death, Lynch Jr. was still unwell. He resigned from public life and stayed at home, hoping to restore his health. Ultimately, he and his wife decided to head to the West Indies and then France. They'd been told that the changing climate might prove restorative for Lynch. However, their ship was lost at sea, right smack in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. Number 6. SS Marine Sulphur Queen. The Sulphur Queen is a bit unique on this list. That's because no matter how little they may have been, a few debris and life preservers from the ship were eventually found. There's no question that the ship sank. The hows and the whys, though, are still mysteries to this day. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen was originally a T2 tanker built in 1944 and was used to carry oil. But in 1960, the 524-foot tanker was converted to carry molten sulfur. It was while fulfilling this duty when it disappeared beneath the mysterious waters of the Bermuda Triangle. On February 2nd, 1963, the ship started on it.
Scientists and jump probably already know what's going on in the Bermuda Triangle. They just don't want to come out and say it because it might be like too supernatural. People gonna get to questioning that, and they get to questioning more things added on to that. So it's better not they just not say anything.
Its ill-fated journey from Beaumont, Texas to Norfolk, Virginia.
They're gonna have to explain too much,
with 15,000 tons of molten sulfur and was managed by 39 crewmates. She was last heard from just 2 days after it set sail. Its last message was routine and indicated nothing unusual was happening. Then, absolute radio silence. Search and rescue teams were dispatched, and after 19 days of searching, all that was found were life preservers and debris from the ship. All crew members and the ship itself seemed to have been swallowed up by the waves. Now, while the ship did encounter rough seas during its voyage, they weren't really rough enough.
Didn't they have like one dude that survived that went through the Bermuda Triangle, but he came out alive or something like that? I forgot what video it is. I think I've seen a video about it.
To sink such a huge ship? Are the reported strange weather patterns inside the Bermuda Triangle responsible for its sinking? We may never know. Number 5. The curious case of the Ellen Austin. While it's not the Ellen Austin itself that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, what its passengers and crew witnessed was truly unnerving. In 1881, the ship set off from Liverpool destined for New York, carrying passengers that were immigrating to America. The ship itself had already been at sea for several weeks when the captain suddenly decided on an unplanned shortcut through the Sargasso Sea, a route that led the Ellen Austin to the Bermuda Triangle. Shortly into the detour, the captain sighted another vessel sailing erratically in the distance, which looked abandoned. Captain Griffin of the Ellen Austin kept a safe distance for 2 days before ordering a crew to go aboard and investigate why the ship wasn't responding to their hails. The unnamed schooner was found to be abandoned with an intact cargo. There was no sign of violence and no indication that there had been a reasonable excuse to abandon the ship. Captain Griffin ordered that a small section of his crew captain the ship and that they sail together to New York where it could be salvaged. Shortly after resuming their journey, a heavy storm separated the 2 ships. When the storm passed and Captain Griffin once again sighted the mysterious ship, he pulled up alongside and found that, once again, it was abandoned with no sign of bloodshed or reasonable damage.
Bro.
Not willing to lose any more of his men, Captain Griffin opted to leave the ship adrift and continue to New York. The ship and its makeshift crew were never sighted again. Number 4. Flight 201. Flight 201 was a small Cessna plane that left Fort Lauderdale, Florida on March 31st, 1984. It was supposed to land later that day at Bimini Island in the Bahamas, but it never made it. The passengers were all Cessna employees, including the pilot and co-pilots. Despite the experience of the crew, something went horribly wrong. Not quite midway to its destination, the plane slowed its airspeed significantly, but no radio signals were made from the plane to indicate distress. Suddenly, the plane dropped from the air into the water, completely vanishing from the radar.
That's crazy, bro.
The gang leader, formerly known as A-Train,
what in the world?
And with that, it's now time for today's best pick. The Bermuda Triangle isn't home only to unexplained forces that seem to swallow up entire planes and boats. It's also home to a gruesome monster that attacks even great white sharks. Get to know these sea creatures next. Number 3. The Bermuda Triangle Sea Monster. There may have been many strange occurrences reported about the Bermuda Triangle which date back over half a millennia ago, when Christopher Columbus and the Santa Maria crew reported a sighting of unknown light. Quite recently, it has been observed that animals that frequent the waters of the triangle are being attacked by an unknown creature, not enough to kill them, but leaving distinct marks all over their body, which looks like something bit a chunk out of them. It was only in 2020 when the culprit had finally been found, and it was definitely
that little fish, man.
The attacker was the cookie cutter shark, a kind of shark with a deceptively sweet name, but nerves of steel when it comes to finding food. It only grows to 20 inches, yet it has the audacity to attack whales, tuna, and even great white sharks. The proof is in the injuries it leaves on its victims, a hole with a shape like a cookie, hence its name. Number 2. The Mary Celeste. On November 7th, 1872, the 282-ton brigantine Mary Celeste set sail from New York Harbor on its way to Genoa, Italy. The course the ship will take it right through the Bermuda Triangle. On it were the ship's captain Benjamin S. Briggs, his wife Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, along with 8 crew members. On December 5th the same year, a passing British ship called Dei Gratia spotted the Mary Celeste at full sail and adrift about 400 miles east of the Azores, with no sign of the captain, his family, or any of the crew. Aside from several feet of water in the hold and a missing lifeboat, the ship was undamaged and loaded with 6 months worth of food and water.
So it's like the people on the boat just vanished. Like everybody, the boat is still there.
Abandoned a perfectly sound ship. Theories over the years have ranged from mutiny and pirate attacks to assault by giant octopus or sea monster, while the more scientifically minded proposed an explosion caused by fumes from the 1,700 barrels of crude alcohol in the ship's hold. And, of course, the mysterious patch of sea known as the Bermuda Triangle could also be to blame. Number 1. The strange fate of Flight 19.
Yeah, everybody heard
of
Flight 19.
1945, 5 Avenger torpedo bombers left the Naval Air Station at Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with Lieutenant Charles Taylor in command of a crew of 13 student pilots. About an hour and a half into the flight, Taylor radioed to the base to say that his compasses weren't working, but he estimated he was somewhere over the Florida Keys. The lieutenant who received the signal told Taylor to fly north towards Miami, as long as he was sure he was actually over the Keys. Although he was an experienced pilot, Taylor got horribly turned around, and the more he tried to get out of the Keys, the further out to sea he and his crew traveled. As night fell, the reception of radio signals worsened, until finally there was nothing at all from Flight 19. A US Navy investigation reported that Taylor's confusion caused the disaster, but his mother convinced them to change the official report to read that the planes went down for causes unknown. The planes have never been recovered. See you guys next.
That jump be crazy, bro. I don't think we ever gonna get to the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle and stuff like that, bro. Like I said, like the scientists and people who rule the world, they probably know what's going on, but they'll probably never tell nobody. But it's crazy, man. Hope you guys like the video, bro. Yeah, man. See y'all tomorrow, bro.